Things aren't going too great for the Seattle Mariners. They're 3-7. They're the worst hitting team in baseball with runners in scoring position. The starting pitching and bullpen have both been okay. And now they need a new right fielder. In Sunday's 5-4 loss to the Giants, Victor Robles made one of the most sensational catches you'll see all year, but it came at a cost. Robles is currently getting imaging done on a shoulder problem as a result of the catch, and this leads to the question, what will the Mariners do in right field? Today, we're going to look at a couple possibilities. Clearly, there are a couple things working against the Mariners. Most notable is that we are less than 1/10 of the way through the Major League season. There aren't going to be a lot of options available in the trade market, even fewer in free agency, so Seattle will more than likely be forced to look from within to fill the position. But if they can get a trade done, there are a couple of players, some more exciting than others, that do make some sense for Seattle. Let's start with the least exciting player that we're going to talk about today, Michael A. Taylor, outfielder for the Chicago White Sox, 34-year-old veteran, still a very good defender, not much of a hitter, hasn't been for a while, does have a career 94 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, and his clear role would be as a platoon partner with Luke Raley. Taylor hasn't been viable offensively, even as a part-time player, since 2023 when he posted a 145 WRC plus against left-handed pitching for the Minnesota Twins. Taylor is more of a player who replaces some of the defensive value that Victor Robles provides. He's only making $2 million for the season, and he is likely going to be incredibly cheap for a White Sox team that knows they have no shot of competing in 2025. Taylor is so underwhelming at the plate that the Mariners may be better off just sticking with Samad Taylor or calling up potentially an infielder and moving Dylan Moore to be the primary platoon partner with Luke Raley. But this is an option. He is cheap, he is affordable, and he is probably available this early in the season. Next up, we have a player who is somewhat surprisingly already being shopped, and that is Baltimore Orioles first baseman Ryan Mountcastle. The Orioles are looking to clear way for top prospect Kobe Mayo into the big leagues, and they are apparently already listening to offers on Mountcastle. While he does have limited time in the outfield, it hasn't gone well. Mountcastle should be looked at as a first base only. This doesn't really solve the outfield situation, but it does allow you to more freely move Luke Raley into the outfield full time. And Mountcastle is a solid, albeit not special, hitter. He has solid average to above average power, although the left field dimension changes at Camden Yards has hurt him more than most hitters. He typically hits the ball very hard. He has plus bat speed and has overall been a productive player. We're not quite sure what Baltimore is looking for at this stage in return for Mountcastle, who does have 2 years of club control remaining and is only 28 years old. He won't be cheap. He's not an ideal fit because he doesn't play in the outfield, but he is probably the best hitter who's actually available right now. Otherwise, a player like Mountcastle, you'd likely have to wait until July at the earliest to acquire such a player. Up next, we're going to talk about perhaps the highest profile player in today's video, and that is Luis Robert Jr. The Mariners have been linked to Robert since last summer when the White Sox were aggressively scouting the Mariners minor leagues, and we know that Seattle did have interest in Robert at some point, likely before they acquired Randy Arozarena. Could they go back and try again? They could. The issue with Luis Robert is that he did not play well last year. This has been well documented. We know his struggles last year, and he's not off to a great start this year. Currently, he's hitting 161, 250, 194. Robert also would be the most expensive monetarily player that the Mariners could acquire right now, as he is due $15 million for the remainder of the season. Robert does have 2 club options in addition to his 1 year, so the Mariners could control him for up to 3 years. But if he continues to play like this, they won't want to do that. The club option does give them the flexibility to walk away at a cost of only $2 million for a buyout. So there is some risk here, but very little of it is long-term risk. We have no idea what the White Sox will actually take for Robert right now. We heard in the winter that they would prefer an impact prospect versus a bulk deal. The White Sox have said they will be patient with Robert, but the 27-year-old getting off to a slow start this year after the disastrous season he had last year isn't helping his trade value. If he continues to struggle, the White Sox might not get anything in return for him. So moving him early in the season still could be a possibility. Robert has no issue hitting the ball hard. He has tremendous bat speed. The power will play anywhere. And he is a good defender in center field and would replace the speed element that Victor Robles brings quite well. The question is, do you trust Luis Robert? The Mariners, at least to some degree, were willing to trust him last year. They went after him in the summer, but we also don't know if the Mariners even have the financial flexibility to go out and acquire Robert in his $15 million contract. If the White Sox were to eat some of the money, that would help facilitate a trade, but it would also increase the prospect return for Seattle. If the Mariners don't view Robert as a long-term option for them in the outfield, it doesn't make much sense to give away the type of prospect that it would seemingly require for the White Sox to meet their high upside prospect threshold that they were looking for in the winter. But if the Mariners can get Luis Robert Jr. back on track and get him back to where he was in 2023, Seattle will have 3 potential MVP candidates in the middle of their lineup, in addition to Randy Arozarena, Luke Raley, and potentially, somewhere down the line, Victor Robles. We still don't know the timeline for the Victor Robles return, and this early in the season, it's going to be difficult for the Seattle Mariners to swing any kind of a significant deal. There might be a 4A type of player out there. There might be a veteran who is on a minor league deal that wants to come to Seattle. But more than likely, the Mariners are going to have to solve this problem from within, at least for the time being. Players like Dominic Canzone and Samad Taylor are going to be popular names that will be thrown around. A player like Tyler Locklear could come in to help take at-bats away from Tellez and play first base to allow Raley to focus purely on right field. Seattle could look to add an infielder and push Dylan Moore out into the outfield on more of a full-time basis as a platoon partner for Luke Raley as well. But the Mariners really don't have that prospect in their system right now. Ben Williamson and Cole Young don't appear to be ready, and Jorge Polanco might be a more permanent DH going forward as his knee continues to bother him. So Dylan Moore might be needed to play third base. The Mariners have a lot of imperfect possibilities that they should consider here, but at the end of the day, the likelihood is that the Mariners will have to find a way to survive without Victor Robles for the time being until more teams are out of it. We can't rule out an early season trade. Luis Arraez was traded in May of last year, so it is definitely a possibility, and we know Jerry Dipoto will be aggressive early in the year if the situation is right. He went out and he acquired Denard Span and Alex Colomé in May. He went out and he acquired Carlos Santana in June. So if the right player is available at the right price and they have the money to absorb the contract, Jerry Dipoto very well could make a trade. But until we know more about Victor Robles' timeline and until we know more about how these teams are going to feel about the Mariners' offers this early in the year and if they can convince a team to sell, Mariners fans might want to get used to the idea that Samad Taylor, Dominic Canzone, or Leo Rivas is going to start getting serious at-bats for this club for the time being. Thanks for watching this quick video, guys. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot, and I will talk to you later. Peace out.